I hadn't planned on driving across 3 states alone, not really. It was one of those late-night decisions, made under dim kitchen lights with a mug of tea gone cold in my hands and an ache in my chest I couldn't ignore. My name's Clara. I'm 25, a barista by morning, and a sketch artist by night. My car's old enough to have its own personality, moody in the cold, stubborn on hills, but it's never let me down. Which is more than I can say about most of my family. I hadn't seen my sister Harper in over a year. She moved away after college, fell in love with some guy named Owen, and started this whole new life that didn't really include me. Not that we were ever super close, we were 4 years apart and practically raised in different universes. But still, she was my sister. And when I found out through a Facebook post that she was getting married in 3 days, something in me snapped. It wasn't even her who posted it. It was our cousin Megan. A photo of a ring, a backyard setup, string lights, and the caption, "So excited for Harper and Owen's big day this weekend." No call. No invite. Not even a damn text. At first, I told myself it was fine. That maybe it was a small wedding. Maybe it was sudden. Maybe she meant to reach out and something just got lost in the shuffle. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. About how we used to build pillow forts in the living room. About how, when our parents were fighting, she'd sneak into my room and lie beside me without saying a word. About the way she held my hand during my first panic attack and never told a soul. I couldn't let her get married without at least seeing her. Maybe she didn't want me there. Maybe she'd slam the door in my face. But I needed to try. So I packed a bag with a dress I hadn't worn since my best friend's engagement party and some clean jeans, filled my tank with every last dollar in my savings, and hit the road at 5 a.m. I didn't tell Mom. She and Harper stopped talking after the whole college tuition fight. I didn't tell Dad either, he's always somewhere between indifferent and oblivious. It was just me, the highway, and a playlist Harper made for me back in high school called Clara's Comfort Mix. It had everything from Ingrid Michaelson to some cringy One Direction ballads, but I played it anyway. Somewhere around hour 6, I started to imagine how it would go. I'd show up at the venue, probably her backyard, knowing Harper, surprise her with a hug and a tearful, "I couldn't miss this." She'd laugh, maybe cry, and say she was sorry she didn't reach out. We'd toast with sparkling cider like we did when we were kids pretending to be adults. But I should have known better than to build dreams in my head. I arrived the night before the wedding, just as the sun dipped below the horizon and threw long shadows across the sleepy neighborhood where Harper lived. Her house was lit up, soft music floating from inside. Cars lined the street. I parked around the corner, heart pounding, palms sweaty. I didn't want to crash anything. I just wanted to see her. So I crept through the side yard, past hydrangeas and a crooked garden gnome, toward the open kitchen window. And that's when I heard her voice. Laughter, soft and nervous. Then a pause. "Honestly," she said, "I didn't invite Clara because I didn't want any drama. She makes everything heavier, you know? Always sad, always intense. I didn't want that on my wedding day." I stopped breathing. "I know she means well," she went on, her voice barely audible over the clink of dishes. "But she doesn't know how to just be happy for someone else without making it about her." I backed away before I heard more. My chest felt like it was caving in. My shoes scraped against the gravel, and I swear I heard someone say, "Did you hear that?" But I didn't stop. I ran. Back to the car. Back to the one place I could still pretend I hadn't heard what she said. I drove to the nearest gas station and parked in the back, out of view of the main road. I sat there in the dim glow of the dashboard, staring at the cracked leather steering wheel like it had answers. She didn't invite me because I was too intense. Always sad. Always heavy. I replayed those words in my head, each time sharper than the last. The worst part wasn't even what she said, it was how casually she said it. Like she wasn't aware it would carve me open. My stomach turned with the kind of nausea that comes from holding back tears too long. I was halfway between sobbing and laughing when my phone buzzed. A text from Megan, our cousin. "You in town?" I stared at it. My fingers hovered over the screen. How did she know? I replied, "Why?" Seconds later, "Saw your car. Didn't want to say anything. Are you okay?" I didn't answer. The tears came then. Not the dramatic movie kind, but the quiet, lonely kind. The kind where you just sit there letting them fall, no heaving breaths or sobs, just silent release. I think I sat in that car for nearly 2 hours, watching people come and go, watching the streetlights flicker. At some point, I turned off the ignition, pulled a blanket from the back seat, and tried to sleep. But I couldn't. My mind kept replaying Harper's voice, those soft, almost apologetic words laced with rejection. The next morning, I showered at a truck stop, changed into jeans and a hoodie, and drove to a small cafe a few blocks from Harper's place. Megan was already there, waiting. She stood when she saw me, wrapped me in a tight hug before I could protest. "You look like you've been hit by a truck," she whispered. "I feel like I've been hit by a betrayal," I muttered. We sat in a corner booth, the kind with cracked vinyl seats and a sticky table that smelled like syrup and coffee grounds. Megan didn't push. She just sipped her latte and let me talk. And I did. I told her everything. About the drive, the decision, the window, the words. All of it. When I finished, she sighed. "I wish I could say I'm surprised," she said. "But Harper's been distant. Like she's trying to rewrite herself, and you're part of the version she wants to forget." That hit harder than it should've. "She used to be different," I said quietly. "We weren't always like this." "I know," Megan said. "But people change. And sometimes, they shed the ones who remind them of who they were." That stung. But it also made a twisted kind of sense. I stared at my coffee for a long time before I said, "I think I just wanted to believe that no matter what happened, we'd always be sisters. You know?" Megan reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You are sisters. But that doesn't mean she gets to hurt you without consequence." I didn't know what I was going to do. I had come all this way for closure, maybe for reconciliation. But now? Now I just felt raw. Still, as I sat there, watching morning light spill across the cracked tiles, I realized something. I hadn't come just to be part of her day. I'd come because I needed to know if we still mattered to each other. And now I knew. I wasn't going to the wedding. But I wasn't going to slink away, either. If Harper didn't want me there, she was going to have to look me in the eye and say it. It was around noon when I parked just down the street from Harper's place. The wedding was in a few hours, and the street was already buzzing with activity, cars pulling up, people unloading garment bags and coolers, the hum of last-minute prep filling the air. I didn't get out right away. I watched from my window as a group of bridesmaids, all in matching robes, laughed their way into the house. One of them held a clipboard, another a steaming cup of coffee, probably Harper's. They looked like a little army of joy. And I was the ghost outside their gates. But I wasn't here to crash anything. I was here to finish what I started. I pulled on my jacket, tucked my hair behind my ears, and walked up the sidewalk with steady, quiet steps. I could hear music from inside, something acoustic and romantic. My heart pounded with every step, but my hands didn't shake this time. I knocked on the side door, the one that led to the mudroom off the kitchen. Harper and I used to sneak out through that door when we were teenagers, barefoot and breathless from laughter. The door creaked open. It wasn't Harper who answered. It was Owen. He looked surprised, maybe even a little confused, but not angry. Clara, he said, blinking. Wow, I didn't know you were coming. I offered a small smile. I wasn't invited. That caught him off guard. Wait, really? Harper didn't? I shook my head. He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting behind him toward the kitchen. Okay, she's upstairs. Probably getting ready. Do you want me to get her? No, I said quietly. I'll go. Owen hesitated but eventually stepped aside. She's in the guest room, the one facing the backyard. I nodded my thanks and walked through the familiar house, every photo on the wall feeling like it belonged to someone else's story. There was Harper in graduation robes. Harper and Owen hiking. Harper at someone's bridal shower. But no Clara. I climbed the stairs slowly, my footsteps soft on the carpet. At the top, I paused outside the guest room door. I could hear her humming, the rustle of fabric. I knocked. Come in, she called. I opened the door. Harper stood in front of the mirror, hair half curled, a silk robe draped over her frame. When she saw me, she froze, curling iron midair. Her eyes widened. Clara? Hey, I said, voice even. She didn't say anything for a moment. Just stared, then set down the iron with a soft click. What are you doing here? I stepped in and closed the door gently behind me. Thought I'd return the favor, I said. You didn't invite me to your wedding. I figured I'd invite myself. She winced. Clara. Don't, I interrupted, my voice shaking now despite everything. Don't say it's because you were busy, or that the guest list was tight, or that it slipped your mind. I heard you last night. Her face drained of color. I was outside the window, I continued. I heard every word. About how I'm too heavy. Too intense. How you didn't want me there. She sank onto the edge of the bed, hands in her lap, silent. I just want to know, I said. Why? What did I do that made you cut me out like that? Harper finally looked up, and for a second, I saw the sister I remembered, the one who used to braid my hair and sneak me chocolate. Her eyes were glossy now. It wasn't about you, she said. It was about me. I wanted this day to be easy. Light. And sometimes when we're together, it feels like I'm being pulled back into everything we went through. The hard stuff. My chest ached. You're part of that part of me, she went on. And I know it's not fair. But I didn't want that feeling on my wedding day. So I'm a reminder, I said flatly. She flinched. No, I mean, yes. But not in a bad way. Just. I didn't know how to balance it. I nodded slowly, biting back the words that wanted to spill out, about how I was the one who stayed when our parents divorced. About how I held her through her first heartbreak. About how she never once visited when I was in therapy. But instead, I just said, you didn't even give me a chance. I know, she whispered. And I'm sorry. Silence stretched between us. Then Harper stood, walked over, and hugged me. It wasn't the kind of hug that fixes things. It was the kind that acknowledges how broken they are. I left Harper's house without staying for the wedding. I could have. She said I could. After our awkward hug, she asked if I wanted to be there, said she understood if I didn't, but that I could. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup half done, and I could tell she wasn't sure if she wanted me to say yes. So I said no. Not out of spite. But because some things take more than a single apology to fix. I drove back to Megan's place, where she handed me a cup of coffee and didn't ask a single question until I sat down. So, she said gently. Closure? Something like that, I murmured. We didn't talk much after that. Just watched reruns of old sitcoms and let the day drift by, wedding bells ringing somewhere out of reach. It wasn't until later that evening, long after the ceremony had ended, that my phone buzzed again. A video message. From Megan. She must have taken it when she went back to drop off a gift for Harper, who insisted she come for the reception even though I didn't. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. Part of me didn't want to see it. But curiosity has always been my weakness. The video opened with Harper standing in front of a microphone, Owen beside her, his arm wrapped gently around her waist. The backyard was lit up in golden fairy lights, and the guests were clinking glasses, laughing softly. Harper looked nervous. She cleared her throat. I know it's tradition to give a toast, she began, but I wasn't planning on saying anything. But I think I need to. She looked over the crowd, then directly at Megan's camera, and something in her face shifted. I want to talk about sisters, she said. My heart stuttered. I haven't always been the best one, Harper continued. In fact, recently, I made a choice that I now regret more than anything. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. There's someone who should be here tonight who isn't. And it's my fault she's not. Her voice trembled. Clara, if you're seeing this somehow, I just want to say I'm sorry. Truly. You were never the problem. I was just afraid of the part of myself you know too well. The part I've been trying to ignore. A lump rose in my throat. You've always shown up for me, Harper said, tears running down her cheeks now. Even when it hurt. Even when I didn't deserve it. And I didn't invite you because I thought I could have this day without all the messiness. But you are not the mess. You were the light in it. Owen gently took the mic from her, pulling her into a hug, and the video ended there. I stared at the screen for a long time. Megan didn't say anything. She just sat beside me, waiting. She really said that? I finally whispered. She did, Megan said. And she meant it. The tears came slowly this time. Not from pain, but from something I hadn't felt in a while, relief. Maybe hope. It didn't fix everything. A toast doesn't undo a year of silence or the sting of overheard words. But it mattered. And maybe that's where healing starts. I didn't sleep much that night. Even after the toast, after Harper's tear-streaked apology, my mind couldn't quiet itself. I lay on Megan's couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the old pipes. How do you forgive someone who didn't just forget you, but erased you? Because that's what it felt like. Not just an oversight. A conscious decision. A choice to edit me out of the biggest moment of her life. But she had apologized. Publicly. Vulnerably. And even though I didn't know if I was ready to let her back in, I couldn't ignore that it had taken something out of her to do it. Megan made pancakes in the morning. We didn't talk about the video, or the wedding, or Harper. We talked about work, and her annoying upstairs neighbor, and whether or not almond milk makes decent foam for lattes. Then my phone buzzed again. Harper, can we talk before you leave? I stared at the message for a long time. Finally, I typed, yeah. Where? 10 minutes later, we met at the old park near her house. The one with the crooked swing set and the peeling paint on the merry-go-round. We used to go there when we were kids, racing to the top of the jungle gym like it was Mount Everest. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on the second swing, her wedding dress replaced with a hoodie and leggings, her hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked tired. Hey, she said as I approached. Hey. I sat on the swing next to her. For a while, we just swayed in silence, the metal chains creaking gently in the cool morning breeze. I meant what I said, she said finally. In the toast. I know. I was scared of how much I needed you, she admitted. That's the truth. You're the only person who really knows me. Not the curated version. Not the Harper with her life together. You know, the messy parts. The insecure parts. I blinked back, the sting behind my eyes. I thought if I kept you away, she went on, I could keep that part away too. But it doesn't work like that. I nodded slowly. No. It doesn't. She turned to me, eyes wide and raw. Do you think we can find our way back? I looked at her, really looked at her. Not the girl from the pictures or the voice from behind the window. Just my sister. Flawed. Scared. Reaching. I don't know, I said honestly. But I think we can start walking. And that was enough. We stayed there for another hour, talking about nothing and everything. About Owen's terrible dancing, the cake that melted in the sun, the cousin who tried to flirt with the bartender. We laughed. We even cried a little. No big declarations. No dramatic music swelling in the background. Just two sisters on old swings, learning how to begin again. After I got back home, I kept thinking about writing her a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A letter. The old-fashioned kind, handwritten, raw, a little messy. Like we used to do when she was away at summer camp and I stayed back, jealous and bored, writing her pages about the dog chewing up Mom's slippers and how I missed her. I never sent it. But I wrote it anyway. Dear Harper. I don't know what it was about your toast that cracked something open in me. Maybe it was hearing you admit, out loud, that I matter. Maybe it was just knowing you finally saw how much your silence hurt. Whatever it was, it stayed with me. I want to be angry still. A part of me thinks I should be. But the bigger part of me, the one that remembers our movie marathons, and your clumsy pep talks before my first job interview, and how you once got into a fight with a girl for calling me weird, that part just wants my sister back. I don't need perfect. I don't need you to rewrite what happened. I just want honesty. And effort. And maybe a little kindness when I'm feeling heavy. I can't promise everything will go back to how it was. Honestly, I'm not sure I want it to. We've both changed. But I think we can build something new. Something real. Just, don't pull away again. Don't shut me out without telling me why. I'd rather hear a hard truth from you than be left standing in the dark wondering what I did wrong. Love. Clara. I folded the letter and tucked it into the drawer by my bed. Every now and then, I'd take it out and read it, wondering if maybe I should send it after all. But then she started texting more. Not just the polite, hey, how's it going, kind of texts, but the real ones. Screenshots of weird memes. Updates on her first attempt at cooking lasagna, it exploded. I don't know how. Pictures of her cat curled up in a laundry basket. I didn't realize how much I missed those little pieces of her. She even asked if I wanted to come visit in a few weeks. No pressure. Just a weekend. We could bake, maybe catch that art exhibit I kept talking about. I said yes. It didn't feel like a huge moment. But as I set down my phone, a small smile tugged at the corner of my lips. This was what rebuilding looked like. Not grand gestures. Not apologies with champagne. Just a slow, patient reaching out. And I reached back. 3 weeks later, I stood on Harper's porch again. This time, I was invited. The sun was setting behind me, casting a soft glow on the neighborhood. She opened the door before I even knocked, like she'd been waiting there, just listening for my footsteps. Her smile was nervous. Mine probably was too. Hey, she said. Hey. She pulled me into a hug, not the cautious kind from the last time, but a warm, full one. The kind that says, I missed you. I'm sorry. I want to try. The weekend went by in a blur of comfort and effort. She made us pancakes Saturday morning and burned half of them. I fixed the curtain rod in her bedroom that had been hanging crooked since who knows when. We watched old Disney movies and argued about which princess had the best storyline. She still swears it's Ariel. I maintain it's Mulan. And we talked. About Dad. About how he used to get quiet when he was overwhelmed. About how Mom never really noticed. About the night Harper left for college and I cried into her pillow for hours. Things we'd never said out loud before. The quiet things. The real things. Before I left Sunday evening, she handed me a small wrapped box. I saw this at the market last week and thought of you, she said. Inside was a picture frame. Hand-carved. Simple. But tucked inside was an old photo, one I hadn't seen in years. It was the two of us, on the swings at the park. I was maybe 7, Harper 11. She had her arms wrapped around the chains like she was trying to hold me steady. I was mid-laugh, hair in my face, completely unaware the moment was being captured. I found it in Mom's attic, she said softly. Thought maybe it belonged with you. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. That night, after the long drive home, I placed the frame on my nightstand. Not because it was beautiful, though it was, but because it reminded me that even the moments we forget still exist somewhere. Waiting to be found. Waiting to mean something again. We didn't solve everything that weekend. But we found each other again. And that's more than I ever thought I'd get when I started the drive across 3 states. I went looking for a sister. And I found one. Not the version I remembered. Not the one I thought I lost. But someone real. Someone growing. Someone willing to meet me halfway. And I met her there.